What's up, Space Pirates? I am the Dread Pirate Dr. Disaster, and today we are going to have a look at the overall health, or lack thereof, of the once mighty box office juggernaut, Disney. Specifically, we have to have a glance at the continued poor box office results of the Marvels and the shitty box office opening weekend for Wish, which was just released. We've tried telling them for years that the direction that Disney has taken is absolutely asinine, but they just won't listen.
What sets off the metal detectors first? The lead in your ass or the shit in your brains?
Disney's continued level of box office failure requires a level of stupidity that is completely off the charts, especially when you keep in mind the brand recognition that they have, this absolutely amazing advantage that they hold over virtually every other movie studio in the world. Despite this massive advantage, they are losing money. It requires completely insular thinking, meaning that the people at Disney clearly don't take into account ideas outside of their own echo chamber. For a group of people who won't stop going on and on about diversity, they don't put much stock into the most meaningful diversity of all, diversity of thought. The only diversity they seem to care about is the shallow, skin-deep diversity. As such, the only people who regularly give these idiots their money are the shallowest, most unthinking customers.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
Well, the number of people who are willing to do that is drying up. In this video, we are going to dive into the weekend box office numbers to see just how badly Disney movies are performing. And then we are going to have a laugh at the reaction to these movies' failures by folks who pay attention to the movie industry, or at least they claim to pay attention to the movie industry, but clearly they're not doing it in the right way.
What the hell was that?
There were lots of people who were genuinely surprised at the reaction to Disney's latest failures. So find yourself a comfortable seat and grab yourself some popcorn to go along with a sweet, sweet beverage, because we are going to absolutely drink up the misery and horror of Disney and their shills as they sink fast.
Yummy!
Let's kick things off by having a look at this article from Variety. The headline says it clearly: box office, Disney's Wish fizzles. Napoleon beats expectations as Hunger Games lands on top again. Disney may need to find another star to wish upon.
Owie!
Wish, the studio's newest animated adventure, was projected to land on top of box office charts over the Thanksgiving holiday. Instead, ticket sales fell short of expectations with a weak $19.5 million over the traditional weekend and $31.7 million over the 5 days, and the film tumbled to third place behind Lionsgate's The Hunger Games prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and Ridley Scott's historical epic, Napoleon. Now, for full context, the article is going to tell us in a few paragraphs that the production budget for Wish is $200 million. Without even accounting for the marketing budget, that would mean that the movie has to haul in at least $400 million at the box office in order to break even on the film. It'll be lucky at this rate to even hit 200 million. But let's read on. Heading into the weekend, the musical fable Wish was projected to earn $35 million over the traditional weekend and $45 million to $50 million in its first 5 days of release. Ticket sales weren't as catastrophic as the studio's 2022 flop, Strange World, which was $12 million over the traditional weekend and $18 million through the 5 days, but it didn't come anywhere close to 2021's Encanto, which opened to $40.3 million over its first 5 days when the Coof was keeping families at home. And it's a far, far cry from Disney's pre-pandemic Thanksgiving releases like 2019's Frozen 2, which was $123.7 million, 2018's Ralph Breaks the Internet, which was $84.6 million, and 2017's Coco, which was $71 million. Exactly. So what are the excuses now, people? Why are Disney movies falling apart at the seams? Why aren't they making money? As we are going to see throughout the next few weeks, Disney apologists these days are blaming Disney Plus on Disney's failures at the box office. I hear them saying that everyone just watches things on streaming these days. Everybody avoids the movie theaters because they just know that the movie's going to come out on streaming in just a couple of months. That is why these movies aren't doing well at the movie theater. To which I query, what has changed? Seriously, how is streaming different than Blu-ray or DVD or VHS or cable TV? Eventually, yes, movies that are playing in theaters are eventually viewable through alternative media options, but that has always been the case my entire life. For over 40 years, that has always been the case. If you go to a movie in movie theaters, you're essentially throwing away money because eventually you can watch it on your TV at home. How is it different now? Tell me again, how is streaming different? This is just a shitty excuse. Wish also added $17.3 million at the international box office, opening in just 27 markets, about 40% of its eventual overseas footprint, bringing its global tally to $49 million. The film's anemic initial turnout further illuminates that magic has been in short supply at Disney, a once untouchable force at the box office. Most of the studio's 2023 slate, excluding Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, has dramatically underperformed in their theatrical runs. It's a problem because Disney movies are expensive, usually costing around $200 million, and that's before accounting for global marketing expenses. And that right there is what I view as the likeliest factor to change eventually. Disney can't keep spending $200 million on movies. Eventually, they're going to have to cut their budgets. And when they do, they won't be able to lean on their lazy-ass CGI to carry their soulless films that nobody asked for. Moving on, it says, in the case of Wish, Disney is hoping the family flick will have staying power during the busy holiday season, much like this summer's Elemental, which finished much stronger than its disappointing opening weekend would have suggested. Wish carries a hefty $200 million production budget and needs to show the same kind of endurance to justify its price tag. We're going to skip down a ways to near the end of the article. If you want to read it all by yourself, I will link it in the description as always. We're going down to where it says, elsewhere, Disney's The Marvels tumbled to 6th place with $6.4 million over the weekend and $9.2 million since Wednesday. The latest comic book adventure in the Marvel Cinematic Universe has grossed $76 million in North America and $187 million globally so far. At this rate, it won't come close to matching the opening weekend of its predecessor, 2019's Captain Marvel, which was $100 $653 million by the time it leaves theaters in the US and Canada. Let me repeat that. The Marvels is on pace to perform worse as a whole than the opening weekend of Captain Marvel. And that is what you get, Disney, for courting this woke, diversity for the sake of diversity nonsense. The people who agree with that mentality, the NPC wokesters, the swarm of locusts, the sort of people who listen to all that corporate messaging, they will line up and give you lots of money and attention, but only for a little while. And then they will move on to the next big thing because they don't care about the MCU. They aren't really fans. They don't care about things like Star Wars. They care about virtue signaling. And these days, they're too busy talking about the conflict in the Middle East or Ukraine or whatever the hell is taking their attention. And in the meantime, Disney, you've abandoned your core fan base, and this is what you're left with. The article then says, even worse, it's shaping up to be the first MCU movie to fall short of $100 million at the domestic box office.
Oh, that's gotta hurt!
Indeed, that has to hurt. And what makes it even worse is that Disney apparently keeps getting blindsided by this garbage. Apparently, they truly aren't listening to anything that people like us are trying to tell them. They won't even pay attention to the market as it sends them a clear message that we aren't interested in wokeness. They are truly in a bubble. Take a look at this tweet or X post or whatever the hell we're supposed to call it these days, but this is from user Luis Fernando, a guy who's a bit of a journalist, following box office numbers and all that sort of thing. I suppose he's kind of like me in the sense that he covers this sort of thing. He covers box offices and movies and how movies are doing, except he apparently refuses to acknowledge that cultural battles that are causing ripples in the box office exist. Anyway, he writes, 7 days ago, no one in the industry would have foreseen this outcome, but wish a PG animation ideal for families not only underperforms industry's projections over Thanksgiving's long weekend, but also ended up in third place at the United States box office as the Disney animation grossed $19.5 million on a 3-day weekend versus Encanto at $27.2 million and Strange World at $12.1 million and Elemental at $29.6 million. For a $31.7 million 5-day-long Thanksgiving opening, less than what Trolls Band Together grossed in its 3-day opening last week. What just happened?
What the hell was that?
That is so spicy. I love watching these people flounder and try to explain away the market's aversion to wokeness. I could go on and on answering this guy's idiotic question, but instead, let's just read the responses to his tweet. Retail Shock says, years of not paying attention to their 3 biggest fan bases, MCU, Pixar, Disney Animation, broke trust. Once you break trust with your audience, it takes time to build it back. They need to release a few years worth of great, unpolitical, non-propaganda content if they want the numbers they used to see. They stopped focusing on story and focused on ideology and are finding out how few people care about or are aligned with their point of view on the world. People want good story to lead. It's that simple. Tar Heel Joe says, Disney chose to abandon and in some cases vilify their traditional audiences. No coincidence that this is happening with all their major franchises. The anime guy says, that is why you fail. There were plenty who saw this coming, but since they are not in your bubble, you didn't see or hear it. User Shadowman posted, 7 days ago, no one in the industry would have foreseen this outcome. LOL, but more than a month ago, most of the potential viewing audience did. Why is that? Why can audiences see incoming bombs so damned easily before they release, and winners too, but not the industry? Yeah, we know why that is. These people are in a bubble. These people are Disney shills. They think their weird, woke, progressive bullshit is way more popular than it is. But them chickens are coming home to roost, and they're learning how unpopular their nonsense is. Now let's take a quick look at another X post that is pretty humorous. This one is from Screen Rant. It says, viewership data reveals a concerning data point. Only 19% of the Marvel's viewers during opening weekend were between the ages of 18 and 24. 13 to 17 accounted for 8%. This is not a good sign for a Young Avengers movie aimed at that generation. And then it says in this graphic below, alarming, the Marvel statistic sets up huge problem for the Young Avengers.
Oh no.
I mean, it's only alarming if the people in the industry didn't see this coming, and the only reason they wouldn't have seen it coming is because they are all cultists. They are the cult of woke. They don't listen to those of us still plugged into reality. For context, if you didn't know, there has been some rumblings of a Young Avengers film coming out featuring Ms. Marvel and a few other characters that nobody gives a shit about, but that's definitely a bad idea, and the numbers coming from the Marvels really showcases that. And once again, let's have a look at the responses to this tweet. Author John A. Douglas wrote, "You mean the audience they courted for over a decade while pissing on the longtime fans wasn't there? Who could have seen this coming?" User Kenan Omar wrote, "The biggest MCU fans are millennial men. That is a fact. It seems that Disney/Marvel isn't interested in making content for us anymore. That's okay, I guess. Good luck." And then this user said, "Yes, the blind assumption by MCU diehards that everyone who went opening weekend was the target audience for the film and that they liked the movie is ludicrous. The disastrous second weekend drop showed that those people did not tell others to go see the film." And yeah, that sums it up. Disney is failing, Disney is losing money hand over fist, and only Disney and the people in their sphere are surprised by it. We may all be small time compared to them, but together we make up the majority, and we ain't going to see their movies anymore. Keep up the good apathy on all this artwork of modernity, which sucks ass, and eventually they will be forced to change. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your captain is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.